The US debt crosses 100% of GDP for the first time in American history. The national debt is now bigger than the entire US economy. Let that sink in for a minute. It's insane. Buried in that number is something that directly affects your grocery bills, your mortgage rate, and your retirement savings. And almost nobody is connecting the dots here. So today, let's do a little dot to dot. In the first quarter, the data just confirmed the US national debt hit $31.27 trillion. The economy, the GDP, over that same period, well, that was 31.22 trillion. We have crossed 100% debt to GDP ratio. And some economists will tell you that this isn't immediately catastrophic. Countries like Japan have been running higher ratios for years, actually decades. But the trend here and what's actually driving it, well, that's what matters for your wallet. So here's the numbers that should actually stop you cold. The federal government now is spending close to $1 trillion per year just on the interest on the debt, not defense, not healthcare, not education, just the interest. That is the cost of the credit card bill. Now, to put that in context, interest payments will now rival what the government spends on Medicare. They're expected to exceed defense spending within the decade. This is getting so out of hand. And here's the compounding problem, though. The government is still running deficits of more than $2 trillion every year. So the debt just keeps growing, and the interest on that debt keeps growing with it. Analysts at Deutsche Bank described it this way. They said the sheer size of the outstanding debt stock is becoming a far more significant driver of deficits than at any point in the past decade. Future administrations, they say, will find public policy is constrained not by what they want to spend money on, but the sheer cost of managing the debt itself. Okay. But why does the government debt number actually affect you? Here's how this works. When the debt gets this large and the interest costs this high, the Federal Reserve faces a dilemma. Normally, inflation is running hot. The Fed raises interest rates to cool it down. But in a high debt environment, raising rates dramatically makes the government's own interest payments explode. Nobody likes exploding rates or exploding payments for that matter. But see, economists call this fiscal dominance. So when the debt levels are so high that they actually constrain what the Fed's ability to fight inflation is, what's the result? Higher for longer inflation. That's what's more likely, and that's what we've been experiencing. So this means that your grocery bill, your energy bill, your rent, your mortgage, all the things that you've been hoping would come down, they face structural pressure that's going to stay elevated for quite some time. And on top of all of that, the higher debt means higher risk for bond markets. You don't know what that means? Well, eventually that means it feeds into higher mortgage rates because the mortgage rates are tied to the bond market. The housing market is already frozen at rates at about 6.5%. A deteriorating debt picture is one reason that experts aren't expecting any dramatic relief anytime soon. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget has flagged something even more alarming, though. Later this decade, under current projections, the average interest rate on the federal debt will actually exceed the rate of economic growth. Now things get worse. So when this happens, the debt grows faster than the economy can outrun it. Economists call this a debt spiral. Yeah, I'd say so. It's not guaranteed though at this point, but the CBO's own baseline puts us on a path where it starts to begin at in the early 2030s. Not too many years from now. So, how would you prepare for a world where inflation is structurally stickier than we'd hoped? 1. Inflation-resistant assets matter more now than before. Bonds, real estate, that is with a fixed mortgage, and any dividend-growing stocks are going to tend to outperform because that's what tends to happen in inflationary periods, right? 2, we're going to lock in any kind of fixed rate debts where you can. In a fiscal dominant scenario, variable rate debt gets more dangerous over time. Think of those credit cards. If you can, get them into something that's fixed. 3, don't expect the rate relief to bail out your budget. Plan your household finances on the assumption that rates are going to stay elevated for much longer than we want, because the macro picture here suggests that we might deal with this for a long time. The debt crossing 100% of GDP is just the headline. It's a signal about the structural environment and how your finances are going to operate within that over the next decade. The more you understand this, the better position you can be. And while most people are focused on short-term market moves, think what the stock market's doing, most are missing this bigger picture. So comment below, do you actually think that the US government can get a handle on this debt? And do you think that the debt actually is going to affect you? Do you think you're going to feel this in any way in your everyday life? Comment below on that. Remember, think differently, take control, be a renegade, and until next time, have a great day.